Hey, we're live. 83weeks.com, savewitheric.com. Saving money is too sweet. And what a show it was tonight. I'm Derek Sabato here with the EZE Hall of Famer. Ain't nothing fake about him. Real profession, real wrestling. Eric Bischoff. Eric, how you doing tonight, Eric?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Had a great day. It's a fun weekend, 3-day weekend, beginning of summer here. The tourists have all arrived. Yellowstone opened up about 2 weeks ago, so it's nuts here in town already. Summer showed up, but it's fun, man. I dig the energy. So had a great day.
It is Memorial Day weekend, and as everyone is joining us here in the chat, we are live talking about Saturday night's main event. Is Ben. Greetings from Atlantic City, my man in Southern New Jersey. Welcome to the chat, Coach Rosie. Good evening, guys. Drop your super chats, drop your questions. We will get to everything. What a night it was. Eric, before we get started, there was an announcement that was just made on Conrad Thompson's Twitter, who can't be here tonight. And he has put it out to everybody, and I want to make sure that everybody knows this. He just heard from good old JR, and JR wants to tell his fans what's going on with his health. So what's next, what to expect, and he'll be doing it live Monday at noon Eastern at grillinjr.com. The Oklahoma Sooner, the Hall of Famer JR, is going to talk to everyone and let them know how he's feeling, how he's doing live Monday noon, Memorial Day at grillinjr.com. Wanted to make sure that everybody knows that before we get started tonight. Eric, it's great to see JR hopefully getting back in the saddle, isn't it?
I'm not surprised. After the diagnosis, I posted something to the effect of, "Damn, Jim, you're way too tough and way too stubborn to not be able to kick this bastard's ass." And he's going to do a podcast. So good for him. And that's exactly what I meant. He's going to stay positive. He's not going to hide anything from anybody, and he's going to take it head on. So I admire his strength and his character.
Absolutely. We're hoping and thinking and praying for good old JR, and I'm sure he's going to kick out of this one as he's done every other time adversity has come up to he's come up to. So, Eric, I'm going to get into the show, Saturday's night main event. I got to ask, before we even get started, the old school presentation is my biggest part of this show. I really enjoy the red, white, and blue ropes, the referee outfits. What did you think of the presentation tonight on Saturday night's main event?
Same, brother. Just hearing Jesse's voice, and I know people are already criticizing him, and some people are really putting it over. I love hearing Jesse's voice. I almost don't give a damn what he says. It's just Jesse, the body Ventura, and it's like coming back home and smelling homemade chocolate chip cookies that reminded you of your mother when you were 8 years old. And you got to eat the cookie dough before the cookies were even in the oven. That smell is the same thing. It's the familiarity is what it is, and it brings you back to your fandom. I'll speak for myself, to my fandom of when I thought wrestling was really getting freaking cool. It went from being, I don't care what you think about it. I like this stuff, when it was, studio wrestling, like when I was, from a kid on up to about 20, 22, whatever. It was just that small, it's what you did, but it wasn't mainstream at all. And then it got cool in the 80s. And all of a sudden there's pay-per-view and there's national wrestling now instead of just regional wrestling, and everything blew up. And now wrestling looks more like Disney on Ice than it does look like wrestling it used to look. It was such a fun time. And the business exploded in such a short window that you felt like you were on a ride. And Jesse the Body Ventura's voice is a big part of that ride for me. The graphics, the open of the show with the old black and white TV, it actually, to me, has more of a 70s vibe than an 80s vibe, but I love it. It works for me. Again, before the show even starts, before there is a bell, before you hear an announcer, they're already taking you on that journey. you're already going back into your mind and feeling that, and remembering those moments. They're setting you up for what's next in a fun way. And then you go into the videos to really reinforce that. All those really old videos. I mean, just, oh my gosh, it's just classic. They do such a good job at that's really, for me personally, it's the only reason I watch this show. Otherwise, I wouldn't watch it. Just because there's so much other wrestling on, there wouldn't be a reason to watch this show for me unless it was dressed up the way it is.
I think one of the cool things that I enjoy about the production is the slow motion replay directly after the big spot going into commercial break. To me, that's one of those for those who don't know, in television production, to have that replay queued up that quickly, going right into a commercial, it's challenging, and it shows the quality of production that WWE has now.
WWE's production has always been so far ahead of almost everybody else in so many different ways. It has now reached, I'm not, quite honestly, it's been so long since I've really had a look inside WWE's production suites and understood what their total capabilities are, whether it's on the road or back in the studio. So I'm only guessing when I say this, but they are probably one of the most they're the most far advanced live television production company possibly on the planet. If not, probably in the top 3. It's amazing what they're doing. And that's just amazing. It's fun. It's fun to watch, man. Talk about growth and capabilities.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable the capabilities this company has now.
Slim Majors had a really good comment I wanted to put up on the screen. It says that WWE should get an Emmy or whatever for video production every year. I think one of the big things you've seen in the last couple years with the addition of, or I guess the acquisition of TKO, is their production increase. Little sports nuances that UFC had in play. I think they don't get enough credit for how good they are.
Yeah, and who is the individual's name that came over to take over for Kevin Dunn?
Lee Fitting.
And that he knows what he's doing. That's the change.
Yeah.
And I think, because I have a lot of respect for Kevin Dunn. I really do, because we've taken a giant leap forward since Lee came in. I'm going to just say Lee like I know him, like buds and shit. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes. Everything's different now. But until that point, nobody had as much positive impact on the quality of production of professional wrestling than Kevin Dunn. He set the standard. Now, the standard has since been reset, but it wouldn't have had the opportunity to be reset had it not been set first. Meaning, if WWE hadn't enjoyed the success and proven production values that the media industry globally embraced, there would be no Lee Fitting. There would be no TKO.
100%.
So you can't look at what's now necessarily and judge it by what was, because another thing that Lee Fitting has at his fingertips now that Kevin Dunn didn't have was amazing technology. Amazing technology. I mean, you could go out. I was pricing video cameras the other day for what I'm doing with Real American Free Sound. I'm talking about broadcast television cameras, right? Not something you do, social media with, but I'm looking at the prices of these things, and I'm flipping the frick out. I'm looking at $100,000 cameras. What? And then I start doing the math. Well, I'm using $100,000 as an example. Very, very expensive. So then I start doing the math, and I figured, okay, what's the rental on that same piece of equipment? I don't want to spend that much money, so I'll rent it. Well, if you're renting it for any length of time, you might as well buy the damn thing. But here's the catch. 2 years from now, that $100,000 camera, whatever the number is, you're gonna have a hard time selling it on eBay for $10,000. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but not much. Because I talked to one of our production team members. I said, "What do you think, man? Should we just rent it? No, let's go buy it. What should we do?" And you do the math on it. It looks on paper, go buy it. Now it's an asset, except for it depreciates like it's on fire.
Right.
It's a mess. Anyway, why did we get into that? I just love talking about TV
production. We were talking about the production of the show.
There you go. I just off into the weeds. Do you know there's a show? You know somebody's got a podcast called In the Weeds now? Like, did anybody ever hear anybody else ever talk about going into the weeds until I did? I made that shit famous.
Not to this level.
This is crazy.
We should have trademarked it. That's Dawkins' fault. I'll put that on him next time.
Slap that boy. Slap him.
Speaking of, let's get to the actual show. We got our first poll result thoughts on the show. 45% said good, 25% said great, 26% said meh, and only 6% didn't like it. Eric, where do you fall in that group? Good, great, meh, or didn't like it?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't great.
Meh.
It bounced some, because there were some things that were really cool. But do you mind if I just do you want to go match my match, or do you want me to just vomit my thoughts?
Let's go with vomit, and I'll cut you off when I have to.
I'll talk slow, and I'll try to take breaths so you have an opportunity to interrupt me if you need to.
I'll do my best.
I have to train myself. I'm like a freaking chainsaw sometimes. Biggest takeaway for me, which affected everything that I say from this point forward, the pace was horrible. To me, it was so obvious in the very first match. Everything felt rushed. That match was just bing, 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 bing. I mean, it was just the pace of that match. And it was consistent from the very beginning to the very end. It's like bang, 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 finish. There was no ebbs and flows in it.
Yeah.
In terms of what was going on in the ring and the drama that they were trying to create. It was just, do you want me to do it one more time? Bing, bing, bing. Bing, bing. Just the pace was really awkward for me. Not awkward. The pace just took me out of it. There was no reason for me, once they made it to the ring, to really invest. They didn't give me a reason. And now, because of the pace, and because everything felt rushed, it also felt awkward. There were some awkward, really obvious, and they're little things. They're not big things. It's footwork stuff more than anything else. It's footwork. And probably I'm falling into the asshole zone for even bringing this up, because most people probably don't notice it or care. But I did, because I was aware of the pace and how that was going to affect the overall match. And the first thing I started seeing is just awkward footwork. There was some great stuff in it. There was some great stuff in that match. And there were some things that made me go, wow, I'm really glad I'm watching. But they were few and far between and far overshadowed by what I consider a really bad pace and match structure, I guess. And I'm really not critical about that, because that is not my forte.
Right.
But what is my forte is watching something on TV that captures my imagination, and this one did.
So I think, and it's been a common theme that has been discussed lately, is that there are no longer live events for the main roster. It's TV, TV, TV. And something that jumped out at me, and I'm glad you brought it up, it felt like there was a lot of awkward, rusty, I don't know where I should be. I should be here, but I'm not really there. Like you said, footwork. It's great that these guys aren't bumping as much. Man, sometimes you can tell there is real ring rust because they're not getting the usual amount of work that they're used to getting.
That could be it. I don't have enough expertise in the ring to comment, to be honest. It makes sense that possibly could be it. I also think there was and again, it's almost every comment's going to tie back to my very first one, because they put 10 3/4 pounds of shit in a, I should say shit, I don't mean to be derisive as to what the show is. They put 10.75 pounds of material in a 10-pound bag.
Yeah.
They would have been better off to put 7.5 pounds of material in that bag and leave some room for the match to breathe and to ebb and to flow, and for the audience to get engaged. Because, by the way, those supersized commercial breaks, I couldn't, whatever they are, I don't know. I wasn't timing them because I had enough time to get up and go do something else and then come back before the show started. And I'm not exaggerating.
You're not. You actually might be underestimating them.
I was in there setting up sushi dinner for my wife and I, in between the commercial break. I mean, it's long.
Yeah.
No, I get it. That's, you become a victim of your own success. Here's prime time, Saturday night, NBC. But man, do we have a lot of commercials.
Yeah.
But you know that going in. That's where you sit down and you look at your format. You know what those commercial breaks are. They're standardized commercial breaks. You don't get to mess around with them too much. Figure out where your programming time is. Figure out how many matches you have. Look at your programming time and go, no, there's 10.75 pounds of programming time in a 10-pound bag. So let's change that.
Yeah, it was a
matches a little more time. Show me more features. That's what I would see. That's the thing that I don't understand. I'm not going to say I'm criticizing it, but I'm thinking if it were me and building characters and telling stories is the nucleus of your life, that's how this business lives.
Yep.
Creating characters and telling stories. Why not take advantage of this show, even if it's just an additional 3 or 4 minutes out of that programming time? 5 to 7, whatever you can get. Show me some of the amazing packages that WWE is known for. Bring me closer to the characters. Bring me make me care more about the stories we are going to see vis-a-vis those packages. Then and the matches will have a little longer to breathe. I'm making this sound easy and it might be more complex than I'm thinking, but I just believe if you take a match or two out of the equation, put that time into another aspect of the show and advance the storytelling, that would be my guess, but I don't know why they don't do that, or a version of it.
I'm going to probably catch a wrath of shit for this, but I'm going to say my opinion out loud on it. I don't think Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre had to be on the show tonight. I think that could have been on a different program, highlighted. That's a main event to me. That is a 2-segment Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown match. I think.
Wait a minute. This is how distracted I was because I just watched it. Was that the one that was in the cage?
Yep.
Let's talk about that shit.
Yeah.
What?
I think Drew's the MVP. Drew is my guy on WWE TV. He emotes through the TV. Man, just a complete burial finish of Drew, of a babyface walking out, and then Jesse Ventura even brings it up on commentary going, why'd he walk out? Just nothing clicked.
And Jesse handled it even, I mean, he didn't just say, why did he walk out? In the moment, you might say that. And if you had a really good play-by-play guy, he'd tell you why he walked out. And if you didn't know, he'd make some shit up.
Yeah.
It sounded pretty believable, at least believable enough that you go, okay, I don't hate that guy in the ring as much as I thought I did. Yeah, I mean, that was startling.
Yeah.
It's the only word I can think of. I heard that one. And I'm pretty open-minded, whether I'm a huge fan of something or I'm very critical of it. I know what I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is, they may have a reason for doing it. I can't imagine what that reason might be because I'm not living in their moment or in their world talking about this stuff. But you always have to allow yourself to go, I'm pretty sure that was like really bad, but maybe there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And part of the fun for me is trying to figure out what the hell the reason could be, because that's a stumper.
It was in this, like, the finish happened, he walked out, and I was just like, man, this doesn't fit on this show with that finish at all. That is,
And why? I'm watching it with my wife, right? We're pounding that sushi before I came out to do the show. So I was like, I'm talking with my mouth full, fish falling on my mouth onto the plate. Dogs like looking at me like, oh, I dare you to drop another one. And I'm looking at my wife, and my wife looked at me. I didn't say a word. She goes, why are they even in the cage? And I spit sushi all over the floor. My dog thought it was Christmas. It was crazy. And if my wife watches about 5 minutes of wrestling every 4 years, she's watching it. Why are they even in the cage? And it's not like my wife and I ever discuss wrestling in our personal lives, ever, unless it's a business conversation or something. But in terms of critiquing shows and talking about matches, no, that's never happened. So yeah, that's bad. That's a bad sign.
Yeah, and we will. Yeah,
there's no spin in that one.
No, there wasn't, and there was two big returns. Bronson Reed returned to
that
be
was fun. That was fun. I like
the
that
heel heater, and I think it's a good addition to that group. It's going to take. It's going to sound stupid, and I understand that. It's going to take some heat off of Braun having to be the heavy. Bronson is the hired killer. You can tell he's ready for that role. My worry is that they just introduced Jeff Cobb on SmackDown in the exact same role for Solo, but we'll see how the story plays out. The other return, Cody Rhodes returned tonight. Cody Rhodes ran out in the main event and saved Jey Uso from John Cena and Logan Paul, hit crossroads on Cena, helped Jey Uso get the win. And as the show is running off the air, with credits running, Cody challenges Cena and Logan Paul to a tag team match with him and Jey Uso for Money in the Bank in 2 weeks. Again,
how awesome is that, though? Okay, guys, this is good business. Come on now.
Cody's return, and we got the poll results right here. Was this the right event to bring Cody back? Yes, 37%. Biggest audience, probably 24, and 25% voted no. Fans need to miss him more. Eric, what say you? Was tonight the right night to bring back Cody Rhodes?
Okay, full disclosure, I went from the house where I was stuffing my face with sushi and watching the show on my television, and I ran out here and was watching it on my desktop, and I miss that part of the match. So I can't really comment much on that match. Unfortunately, the finish, the way you laid it out to me, felt really freaking awesome. And that leads me back to, and I want to talk about John Cena in R-Truth too. Let's not forget that. That was the highlight of the show for me.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons that are very important reasons. So take out your pen, paper, get ready, because we're going to take you to school when we talk about that match.
Taking notes.
But the way you laid it out, I think it is a good time. I was wondering, it's actually, I turned the show on. I think they had a shot of Cody Rhodes in the open, or might have been in a commercial I saw or something. And my first thought was, God, I wonder when they're going to bring Cody back. Because he was hot for a long time. And then to just like, where'd he go? It didn't feel right. So it was cool. And I'm glad. How'd the crowd react?
Great. And the great thing I thought, and I wanted to bring up at some point, so I'm glad we're getting to this point, crowd was hot all night. So
smoking hot.
When they're in it, it makes for a better product. The crowd actually helped this show overcome a lot of booking crutches, as I'm sure we're going to get to. But they were in for every babyface. They were in for every heel. Everybody had a reaction tonight, and credit that to the booking. But some of the people that were getting cheered shouldn't have been getting cheered. Seth Rollins needs to change his music immediately.
look, I respect the hell out of Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, he's a phenomenal performer. He's a great character. I'm just not connected. And I should be, because the guy's amazing.
Yeah.
But the character is just not hitting a chord. No, I look, I write that off as that's just me, man. I'm 70 freaking years old. So, and I'm not, watching wrestling, every week. So I'm not in it. I'm not engaged. Therefore,
Sure.
my opinion is just really my opinion. I wouldn't expect anybody to have it. But for me, he just doesn't click as a character, as an entertainment property, an actor, a performer. Take his ring work and all that out of it. Just what am I getting when I see this character come through the curtain? It just misses the mark. And maybe that's it. He may just need a change. But yeah, didn't work much for me.
All right, so you said you wanted to bring up R-Truth and John Cena. Let's get to it. The non-title match in the middle of the show. John Cena goes to grab the title belt, decides not to, hands it to the referee. Referee's back's turned. John Cena hits R-Truth right in the nuts. AA 1, 2, 3, and the heel John Cena continues on. Eric, what'd you think of the match?
I loved it. It was an absolutely perfect contrast to the pacing issues that I saw in the opening match. If you don't, I know, Derek, you understand as someone who's been in the ring and refed and been in there with some great talent, you understand footwork and why it's so important.
100%.
Footwork isn't right. Nothing else will look right either. I watched John's footwork. It was flawless. The pace, they didn't try to cram 10.75 pounds of action into a 10-pound bag. They put about 7.5 pounds of action in that same bag, but they paced it differently. And the crowd got into it differently. Yes, the crowd was hot and they were kind of Pavlovian to a degree, because you may have heard me say this in the 7 years I've been doing this show. Someone once told me that Elvis Presley was asked, "What's the most important part of your concerts?" And Elvis said, "It's in the audience. The audience makes the show." That's what makes wrestling work.
It's everything.
And clearly, the audience made this show, just like Elvis audiences made his shows. And it did cover up a lot of stuff. But they were first of all, R-Truth is, how do you not love that character? There's nothing you can't possibly not enjoy watching him work. He's funny. He's credible. He's got great timing. He's got a great comedic skills. He's fearless as a performer, and I'm talking about being as a character.
Yep.
And he's excellent at everything he does. He put on a great match. So did John. The pacing of that match was so good. The audience was into it. It was a non-title match. I'd have loved this, and I this is what I told Conrad last week. I was hoping R-Truth would get that win.
Yeah.
But I will admit this. After seeing that finish and going, "Oh, damn, I wish it would have put Truth on it," I understood why they didn't. And that applies to this whole show tonight. This whole show was nothing more than setting up and advancing storylines. I didn't get the sense. Now, admittedly, I didn't watch a lot of the storylines leading up to the show, so maybe I'm completely off base. And if I am, so what? I don't give a shit. I'm just telling you what I felt as a viewer watching the show tonight. I think the whole thing, I think the opening match, that's setting up future storylines. Yep. The Cena match definitely advanced his character. It didn't advance his storyline necessarily, but wow, did it advance it. He actually made me, I actually bought him as a heel tonight. First time. And I've watched his interviews. I've seen the stuff he's done in the ring. You know, I say it all the time. I don't sit at, Monday night and watch 3 hours of wrestling or 2.5 hours or whatever the hell it is, or any other show. But I do pay attention to what's available to me at my fingertips when I have time to check it out. And I do so throughout the week. So I have at least a sense, if not, detailed information. But I haven't been buying Cena's turn up until tonight. I think tonight, for me now, up until tonight, it's all been a reaction, almost Pavlovian. The audience knows they're supposed to boo.
Yeah.
And they play along. And that's fun. But it's not heat. It's just the audience doing what the audience has been trained to do, for the most part. Now you got a certain part of the audience that wants to be the contrarians, and they're going to do the opposite because they read all the dirt sheets and they want to control the show. Yeah. 10% of the audience. They might get a lot of noise, but that's it. The rest of the audience is there to have a good time. They know they're going to be on TV, or there's a chance they could be on TV, and everybody around them's in on the gag. So let's just have some fun and boo and cheer, because we enjoy the experience more when we do. Endorphins are flooding our blood system. Boom, hitting your brain. This is fun. Let's do it more. That's what that live event experience is. And it works. But I think John did a great job reinforcing his heel character. I think it's going to serve him well. The finish actually worked. And I couldn't understand that. Like when he did it, when he teased the babyface moment, I was like, well, unless you're ready to pull some kind of a trigger on something none of us can see, I don't get this for a moment. I was very confused by it, just storytelling wise. And then he used it in the finish, which was way more heat than if he would have just hit him with it originally and not stopped and tried to swerve everybody or fake everybody out or whatever. That little stutter step with the shot to the head with the belt, that little stutter step in the way they did that, in my opinion, made him a real heel.
I think one of the big credits for Cena in the last couple of weeks has been R-Truth, because Randy Orton is that matching top baby face, and Cena trying to be a heel. R-Truth made him a heel in the last couple of weeks, and I think that finally showed through, having a sympathetic baby face compared to Orton being the, we're the veterans and we know what we're doing. I think that added an element that Cena was missing. I want to get to some of our questions.
That's a good take, Derek. I think you're absolutely right about that. I hadn't thought through it that way, but the way you just laid it out makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I want to get to a few of the questions that we got. We got our super chats. David Hernandez, Logan Paul made that match for me. How did you feel about Logan Paul in the match against Jey Uso? What do you think of the evolution of Logan Paul and how he continues to grow in the business?
It blows my mind. I've said it a million times. I just can't even wrap my head around Logan Paul. It's like AI produced him, like he's got some kind of AI chip in his head. And he's able to program it in such a way, or prompt it in such a way, that he can go out there and perform like he's been doing it since he was 5. I get it. He's so gifted. My only question with him is, what do you do next? I mean, Can you get any better? I mean, I would say nothing's impossible with him at this point. He just, has anybody ever broken it? What has he had now, like 25 matches or some shit?
Yeah.
Has anybody ever broken into the business and reached the level, and deservedly so? He didn't like get nepo babied in. He just earned it, and he over delivered when he got it. I don't think anybody's ever done that. Can you think of anybody?
I can think of one guy who defeated Hulk Hogan after he threw him off a roof on his debut match, but besides that, I can't think of anybody else. He's the only one that comes off the top of my head. I mean, Brock had a big push when he first came in, but I mean,
No,
Brock
I'm not talking about a push. I'm talking about he hadn't been around long enough to push.
No.
He just landed there. It was not a push. It was an introduction. And it's been a series of introductions for the last 23 or 2 or whatever it is matches he's even had on television. But he's performing at a level like he's been doing it for 20 years. He's like a big Rey Mysterio.
There's a conversation online that if Logan Paul can be as good as he is, how come there isn't more coming out of the PC like him? Where do you land on that?
Well, first, the foundation is athleticism.
Yeah.
Logan Paul comes from an athletic background. He was a wrestler, actually. It's just some people are born with the ability to play a violin more easily and more efficient or effectively than anybody else. Some people are better at running than 99.99% of the rest of the people. You're just born with some gifts. The Paul brothers happens to be physical gifts and athletic gifts. And it's not just the physical gifts, it's a big part of it, but you know, Derek, it takes a long time when you have somebody laying out a match to you in wrestler shorthand / Carney, which for those who are possibly unaware, it's like a wacky version of Pig Latin. And when you're new in the business and you haven't been hearing that stuff over and over and over and over again,
Very difficult.
And then you get thrown into a main event environment or a high level PLE, and you're an important match. And these guys are laying out a match to you, and it sounds like they're talking Chinese. It's mentally as challenging as it is physically challenging to be able to take, and everybody's, call, get a tag team match. Now you got 4 guys in there kind of laying out their stuff. And you got to remember all of theirs and yours. Because it's all got to fit together.
Yep.
That in itself is an amazing talent. And if you took your average wrestling fan and you put him in a room with $1 million in cash, somehow cut a deal with the government that's tax-free or whatever, and you say, here's what we're going to, somebody that's never wrestled before, or even somebody that's been in wrestling school for 6 months. We're going to put you in a match with so-and-so, somebody, a seasoned pro. He's going to lay out the match for you. And if you can go out there and deliver that match the way it's laid out, you walk out of here with $1 million. Cash, tax-free. Not easy? Let's go try it. Yeah. You know what would happen.
Yeah.
So, and that's my point. That was Logan Paul day one. And look at him. How does that happen? I don't know. Why is there not more of them? Because it's a gift. It's something you're just born with.
I will stand up, and if no one wants to say it out loud either, I'll say it. Hurricane Helms.
Trainer,
agent. He knows exactly what to do in the right spots. Super underrated. One of the best Twitter followers. If you don't follow him, he's a tremendous person to follow on Twitter. But Hurricane Helms does not get enough credit for Logan Paul's success.
Well, we're going to you just changed that right here.
I hope I do.
I
hope he gets his flowers. He deserves it. I'm sure he's going to hate it, but he deserves it. AOTV Productions said, PW Insider says TKO's decision to return to Vegas for WrestleMania 42 because they believe they can repeat the numbers of this year. Thoughts? We had an interesting off-air conversation about this, but
100%.
Yeah.
That crowd in Vegas is different every 3 days. They come in on Thursday. They go home on Sunday. Monday and Tuesday goes to sleep. And then we start it all over again. with an entirely new population of human beings that may or may not have been there the year before. So, yeah, I can see why. Well, I know why they did it, or I think I would know why they did it. It should be pretty obvious. Money drives every decision that a publicly held company makes. It's all about maximizing return on investment and profit margin. So that's obvious as to why. But I also agree why they would be optimistic about it.
What I think is forgotten in some of these conversations, and I think the biggest thing for the fans is they think it's unfair, is that they are a company that was merged with another company that is under an umbrella, and that umbrella has a shitload of debt, and they need to get out of as much debt as humanly or as business possible as quickly as possible. They are going to find every avenue they can to make as much money as quickly as they can to make everything look great, because the better it looks, the higher the stock price goes. And that is a company that merged and took a lot of debt on, all attached to it. Don't lose sight of the fact that at the end of the day, the wrestling business still ends up being a business, is it not?
Derek, you're blowing me away here. Great take. Great take. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's a reasonably good possibility that that's a big part of these decisions. I hadn't thought of it that way or in that context, but kind of makes sense. Something to think more about. Thanks for that. Appreciate that.
I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more. Ask a Bum dropped the super chat. Completely unrelated and off topic, but he paid his money. We're going to ask the question. What was Miss Hancock like behind the scenes?
Just such a nice, just a sweetheart. I'm hesitating because I don't know if it's cool to use that term, but I actually don't care. I really don't care about it.
It's almost 11 o'clock on the East Coast. We're okay.
She's such a nice person. She's so nice, easy to work with. And even in, after Miss Hancock and WCW, even when I worked with her in WWE, one of the most down-to-earth performers I've worked around. Very unpretentious, treated everybody really well. Just a sweet, sweet human being.
David Hernandez asked a question. I think we kind of answered, but I want to make sure we put a pin on it. How did you feel about Damian Priest just walking out the cage? What is your gut check reaction to that finish?
I would just like to be a fly in gorilla when that was over and just to see the look on everybody's faces. Maybe something went wrong. Maybe something got miscommunicated. But if that went according to plan, I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall. Because it would have been some interesting facial expressions.
We have a, hold on, I'm going to get to that one. Instagram Wrestling Historian asked, do you have a favorite Clash of the Champions show?
I'd have to go back and look at them and think about it. Nothing jumps off the top of my head.
Yeah, I didn't think we'll come back to that one day. Maybe we'll figure out a watch along for a Clash of the Champions show.
Yeah.
AOTV Productions, what are your thoughts on Brock Lesnar's daughter Maya being the #1 ranked NCAA women's shot putter?
First off, congratulations. Second off, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. What an amazing athlete. Kudos to her. Have you watched her shot put?
No.
Watch her.
Yeah.
You want to talk about footwork and the importance of footwork?
There you go.
Watch her and watch how she uses her center of gravity. She's amazing. Good for her.
We started this night with Jesse Ventura being compared to Mother's Cakes. So we're going to go to the next question. AOTV Productions. Jim Cornette believes Cena will retire as a heel because he doesn't see a way back for him as a face after eviscerating the fans. What do you think?
Yeah, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I'm not one to challenge Jim Cornette too much. He, regardless of what anybody thinks of him and some of his takes or whatever, man knows what the hell he's talking about. But I'm going to stay optimistic. I'm, you know, if you really believe that the only limits that exist is one's limited creativity. If you're creative enough, you can find a way to do it. And I believe in that. So I'm going to remain hopeful. Probably proven wrong based on Cornette's take, but I'm going to stick with it because I think it can be done.
Frigate Cheese has a couple interesting super chats. First off, Eric, get rematch for title bout loss to Cena in 05. You have any intention on getting back in the ring with John Cena?
No, and I'm going to tell you why. I mean, other than the obvious part.
Yes.
Well, we all know that. But I think that was the match. I may get my match or my Cena moments mixed up. There was a point in time when I was outside of the ring and Cena was feeding me his jaw, which is huge. He's got a huge jaw. He's got the biggest jaw for his head size. I mean, it's just like granite. You could go around and just wreck automobiles with that jaw if you wanted to. It's crazy. It's like a Transformer character. Anyway, he's feed me his head, and I was supposed to reach back and smack him, right? And this sounds crazy for a guy that spent, 7 years in martial arts and kickboxing and all that kind of stuff. I don't like hitting people. Unless I'm really pissed off, then I thrive on it. I enjoy it. But unless I'm really pissed off, it's hard for me to make it look real. I have a mental block, right? But I also know, in this particular night, Vince McMahon's up there and he wants me to make it real. And John made it clear, just lay it in,
Make it
now I
good.
feel the pressure. I like John a lot. He's fun. He goaded me into wrestling Jerry Briscoe one night on Jerry's 60th birthday, and I went home looking like I got run over by a Volkswagen. But aside from that, I still like John. And it was like, I'll reach back and I hit him. So I hit him. Open hand. Pretty hard. And I felt like I just slammed my hand up against the refrigerator as hard as I could. He's got the hardest jaw in the world. For that reason and that reason alone, because I think he's basically indestructible, kind of like a Transformer in real life, I wouldn't want to have to get in the ring with him, even if I was 25 years old in the best shape of my life. Screw it. It's not worth it.
Maya Lesnar versus John Cena's jaw. Who wins in a shot putting contest?
Oh, Maya. She's fun to watch. I mean, I never thought I'd get a kick out of watching somebody shot put, but when I saw that on social media, I probably watched it 20 times because I was watching her footwork. It's like, how do you teach somebody? I mean, it's like anything else. You start out real slow and, baby steps, and then you eventually get your timing and all that. Mind-body connection and all that. The neural pathways are connecting. But that takes time. But I was watching her. She's unbelievable. Anyway,
She's a beast.
Talking about her. Oh, because it's Brock's daughter.
Yes. Long-time listener, first-time caller. If Hulkster gets Hooters, will they serve real American beer? If so, will they follow Jimmy Hart's beach bar rules and sell the beer in cans? Thanks for all the WCW memories and my beach house. From the one and only Conrad Thompson. Heard of him. What say you, Eric?
Should he have cans? Like beer
Yes.
cans? Like real American Hooters?
Oh, okay. Real American Hooters.
I don't know if that would work. That might be a tough one to sell, but who knows? People are great. I've seen more fun stuff out there. So, speaking of fun stuff,
Okay.
here's another thing I noticed at the show, and this is just funny. The show is sponsored by Ass Wipes.
Dude wipes, not ass wipes. Dude wipes.
Yeah, but dude wipes are ass wipes. I mean,
I am a subscriber to Dude Wipes. They are great for on the go. So I have been sucked in by the marketing. They work.
Oh, of course they work. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I'm all for them. It's just, I don't know. Like, I remember back in, I was saying, 97, 98, we were starting to get hot, and somebody, I think it was Turner Ad Sales, reached out to us and said, "Hey, we got a really big ad buy on, but want to make sure you guys are all right with it." And it was for like Trojans rubbers, right? And I didn't have any issue with it. I think it's like a public service in most cases. In fact, in some places, it should be freaking mandatory.
Mandatory. Thank you.
This is nuts. But somebody else in Turner Corporate had an issue with it, so they didn't take it. But man, if rubbers were okay in 97, there's no reason why ass wipes aren't okay now, right?
No, and
ass, might as well do it.
No, and here's the perfect. I love doing this show with you sometimes. Perfect transition from Vin. Do you think Tony Khan is regretting calling Shawn and Triple H bald assholes as they book 3 shows against All In this year?
I don't know. I am not getting sucked into that conversation, even for fun. I just don't care anymore. I've given up hope that anything will really change. So there's no reason for me to pay attention.
We're gonna tread delicately on this. I can't talk tonight. I've been up for 24 hours. AOTV production,
nervous, don't I?
Yeah, AOTV production said Linda McMahon was asked by the House Appropriations Committee if pro wrestling was a real business. Some fans are scratching their heads on this. They shouldn't. Welcome to 2025. We're going to move on to the next one. Trigger Cheese. Why did Solo have more chemistry with Cena than Cody?
First of all, that's subjective. Secondly, that's why they call it chemistry. It's a little bit like charisma. It's either there or it's not there. And it's hard to fake it if it's not there. Doesn't make one person a better person than another person. It's just sometimes is. But I can't comment on it because I don't necessarily agree with it.
I will say in this context, Cena's heel turn was shortly planned, where Solo was an established heel. And I think that makes it a whole lot easier for Cody as an underneath babyface with Solo than it was with Cena. They didn't gel quickly. Jason Jocelyn has a interesting question. I don't know if you've ever watched this match. Eric, what did you think of Hogan versus McMahon Mania 19? Have you ever seen that match?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where wasn't that in Seattle?
It was at Safeco Field, yes.
I was there. I was part of. Why was I there? 2019. Well, anyway, yeah, saw it.
That was the night Piper returned.
Better than it should have been, but didn't feel like a Hulk Hogan match to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. You were to be fair, you were part of the company at that point, so you were there. I just didn't know if you actually sat there and watched the match. It was in 2004, so you're already in the company at that, or 2003.
Okay,
I
thought you said 2014. Well, I got confused. No, it's 2000 because I think I've only been to Safeco Field once. I think
that would probably be it then.
And that was when that same weekend I had Jason Hervey meet me in Seattle because he had just left his job with Hell South, and that's the weekend we decided to form our production company together. So that's why Safeco Field and being in Seattle stands out in my mind. I just get confused on the dates.
Isn't it amazing how we're able to just pin all this stuff together? And your memory sometimes is just amazing.
Really?
It's super impressive. We're going to move on. Little Jimmy Sorensen, a member for 10 months.
First time I've ever heard that. I'm going to give you my wife's cell phone number.
I know you hate gimmick matches, but did you enjoy the cage match? And happy birthday, legendary greatness, sir. Fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, diamond emoji, star, rock on emoji. When is your birthday, Eric?
May 27th, whatever day that is.
3 days from today.
Yeah.
How old are you turning?
70.
Wow.
Yeah,
Big kidding. 70.
No kidding, right?
Listen, you don't look a day over 45, so I'm fucking jealous about it. Vin, do you think part of the issue with Cena's turn is he mapping a lot of this out and his understanding of the business comes from Vince, but Triple H has re-educated the audience to more mature stories?
Sorry, Vin, not buying that one.
Nope.
Not buying that one. Here's the first of all, I don't know that there was a problem. Why would you say it's a problem? Now, it may not be as exciting, Vin, as you or I, frankly, would agree we would want it to be. And in my opinion, there is a reason why. And I don't think it has anything to do with how anything's mapping out, or certainly not how the psychology as it applies to the audience has changed. I absolutely believe the opposite is true.
Yeah.
I see a lot of things that suggest to me that the creative process in WWE leans more heavily on kind of fundamental, tried and true psychology elements. They're going back to basics, but they're adding layers of athleticism and nuanced storytelling, in my opinion. The reason it doesn't have the impact that a lot of people wished it had, including myself, yours truly, is that Cena's turn wasn't the moment Cena turned wasn't act 2. It was act 1. Meaning there was no build up to it. There was no journey up until that moment. It just happened. That's how I define an angle. An angle is like if you read anything about storytelling or script structure, story structure, almost every hero's type journey, Joseph Campbell, has a inciting incident or an inciting moment. It's a flashpoint when something happens to your central character that takes them out of their day-to-day world and their day-to-day thought process and their experience and thrusts them into another one, or to the beginning of a journey into another one. It's an inciting incident, or I don't know, it's an angle in wrestling. John Cena's heel turn was a result of an angle. A really good heel turn, in my opinion, that's a manifestation of a structured story. That heel turn would take place after we've been on a little bit of a journey. We understand this character. The character spends time reinforcing his or her values, whatever it is. John came in with a lot of, everybody knew who he was and what he stood for, all that stuff. So it wouldn't have taken a long time. But if his turn would have been the result of something that had happened along the way, then it would have worked better. Still worked. We're making money. Would have worked better. Example, you know what I'm going to bring up. I can't help it. It's the best example there is. If there's a better one, you let me know and I'll use that one next time.
Fair enough.
The Hogan heel turn. Now people out there throwing like, yeah, he was Hulk Hogan. Okay. Hulk Hogan had been a babyface throughout almost all of his, for the most part, his career, technically, as a superstar. Nobody ever seen him as a heel. Him turning heel in and of itself, whether it would have been in an angle or as a part of a story, would have been a massive turn. And I understand that. So that gives me somewhat of an unfair advantage using this example. But what made the NWO such a powerful impact that one could honestly say, arguably conservatively say, that turn really did change how the business operated from that point forward in terms of storytelling and characters. Everything changed. It forced Vince McMahon to go from teens and preteens and crazy garbage man and psycho dentists and IRS agents and Doink the Clowns to the Attitude Era.
Yep. That
was a result of Hulk Hogan's turn in the NWO. But the reason it was so profound maybe too powerful of a word, is because it was part of a story. It was act two. It wasn't an angle. The angle had started when Scott Hall walked through the crowd in Macon, Georgia, May 27th, 1996, and cut that promo, and everybody went, "What the fuck is that? That's not supposed to happen." That was the inciting incident
Right.
of the NWO storyline. Hogan turning was act two.
Yep.
If John Cena would have had an opening act and turned in act two, you would feel completely different about that heel turn.
And just so we're clear, The Rock coming out of that whatever pay-per-view he came out last year and held up his fingers, that was not act one. Those two things never were supposed to go together.
Right.
We're gonna wrap up because we've gone an hour, which I was not expecting. So we're gonna fire off these super chats real quick. Certified BA, the stop and go took me out of it. I like the pacing initially, but they got on the ad train. I'd have rather have people tattooed Honda on their back. There you go. That's something for a real American. Adam Gibson, it's likely Drew McIntyre is taking time off for injuries after that finish. He's the best heel now, but do they need to bring him back as a face? Would you bring him back as a baby face or a heel, Eric?
I just love Drew McIntyre. I like him as a baby face. I just do. He's that, he's that Scottish warrior. Now he's Braveheart.
He can do anything.
Modern day version of it. I love that. I could listen to him cut promos all afternoon. I just love his stuff. He's so good.
I don't know anymore. Is still talking about diapers. I wear diapers and really love it. They fit and feel great, especially in my fursuit. That's great. Drew on the beat. If you could make a change to anything in professional wrestling right now, what would it be? Shout out from San Antonio, Texas. I think you've already made that change, haven't you?
What do you, no. What would I change? Oh, I don't know that I would change anything. I mean, it depends who we're talking about now. But, I think WWE is, if you're a wrestling fan, it is the best it's ever been. It may not feel that way to certain people like us. Me, I'll use myself as someone who, really connected. It's like my first love happened, when I was between 15 and 18. And that era, the AWA era, Nick Bockwinkel, Larry the Axe Hennig, Mad Dog Vachon, Baron von Raschke, Ivan Putski, it's my jam. That makes me, that's my comfort food when it comes to wrestling, right? I still go out and eat a great steak. I'll watch WWE, but something about that comfort food, it's different.
Yeah.
So depending on who you are and what your age is and where your connection was, but I think if you just step back and take your emotion out of it and you just really look at what the wrestling industry is today, it's never been this good, ever. So I don't know that there's anything I'd change.
No.
Overall.
Vin, I've been up since 2:30 this morning. It's 11 o'clock. I appreciate your question about Eric seen Dave Meltzer get caught arguing ratings with an AI bot on X. We're going to get to that on a much later date. I want to finish tonight with a question and a person who's really close. Yeah, we're not going to get to that. I'm going to finish this with a question for Eric because Eric loves this woman. Kenneth Wilbeck, is Zelina Vega begging for crowd support? Reveals she isn't over with the crowd.
I watched that match very closely because I really like Zelina. She's a really, really cool person. And I'm rooting for her. In the ring and out of the ring, I'm rooting for her. She's pretty special. But I didn't think that was the best I've seen of her. And it could be the pacing. It could be just too much stuff in the bag. And it was rushed. It was very stagey as well. And it was just too much of it. I didn't see her, begging for crowd support. Perhaps she did and I didn't notice it. That's quite possible. I don't know. I'd have to watch more of it, I guess, before I could comment on it. But she's a very talented young lady.
All right, here's how we're going to close the night. Angry Duckling Institution. Sorry, Eric, bit off topic, like we've covered most of the topic today. Funny question here. Why does the inside of your house look like the gingerbread house in Hansel and Gretel? Eric, I want to thank you for the time tonight. This has been a pleasure. Make sure you visit 83weeks.com, hit subscribe, turn on your notifications. You never know when we're going to go live. SaveWithEric.com. Saving money is too sweet. And we are going to wrap up tonight for Saturday night's main event reaction show. Eric, this was a pleasure as always. Thank you for the time tonight.
Thank you, Derek. That was fun. It was fun chatting with you about wrestling. I learned a thing or two, so I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone, for the super chats. Make sure you turn on your notifications so you know the next time we go live, and we'll be announcing when that is very soon. And don't forget, JR live tomorrow or live Monday, noon, grillinjr.com. JR is going to speak to the world, let everyone know how he's feeling, how he's doing, exclusively with Conrad at grillinjr.com. Monday, Memorial Day, noon Eastern time. Make sure you tune in, turn on your notifications on that page as well so you don't miss it. We'll see you again next time. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great night.